In this episode, we'll be discussing the chair rails. The front rail, the back rail that has a little more shape to it, and the side rails. Here we have the layout of our front rail, side rails, and back rail. And you can see in looking at the corners that we've matched up a short tenon with a long tenon on the top and a long tenon on the bottom with a short tenon on the side. When they come together in the leg, they won't interfere with one another. So we built a jig to hold our templates to be able to route out the profile for the bottom cloud lift on the rails. So this would be our template for the front, and we'll just put that on here. We're using, we'll line it up on this, set it onto our jig, and clamp it in place so that it holds our work firmly. It's not going anywhere. We'll hog out some of this material between the cloud lift and do the final pass by moving the fence back away with the bottom bearing bit going along our template. Okay. For doing the tenons, we've got it set up here. This will be with the outward facing part up. So we'll cut off the bottom part, and rather than flipping the board over like we were for the facings, we're going to have to turn this around so that we're still cutting from the same face and leaving the exposed part for the back above it. That'll put the tenons down low on both ends rather than being offset, which would be bad. Here I have the bottom pieces, the back part of the back rail for the chairs, all set up on the PantoRouter, ready to do the mortises for the back splats. This requires a slightly different template than the top because we have a double inset on the bottom and then the side pieces off over here. The bottom of the chair, I decided to not house the mortises and just do a mortise that the bottom sits into and have the piece sit flush against the back rail. This is so that we don't have a lot of debris, crumbs, dust collecting in that little gap there. Okay, so I kind of forgot. You might have noticed that the router was kind of bumping out. It was hitting against this, so I don't have a good depth of cut there. So I'm going to just slide this brace over a bit and redo that while it's still locked into position. That's all there is to it. So you can see where the PantoRouter makes it easy to repeat these angles consistently when the hard part was getting the template itself done. So you can see that the pattern on the PantoRouter is about double of what we're actually producing. The width is... I used a 2.5-inch tall router bit to shape the back sides of the back rail for the chair seat. That's this bottom part here. You can see the profile that I've shaped out with that using my template on a nice steady block, supporting block. Putting the template down and using a bottom pattern bit. In order to finish off this bottom portion, what I'll be doing is using technically a bottom bearing bit, flush pattern bit router along this edge to clean away the rest of this material. I could go in there with a bandsaw and clean up some of this so I have much less to cut out. I think I'll go ahead and do that because it's a lot for a bit to have to take away, and it kind of saves some of the wear on my bit when I do that as well. I'm working on the housing mortises for the rails. There are a couple of steps that need to be done to be able to do this correctly. First thing I did was to use my round over plane to get the edges of the housings correct so that they'd be rounded over to match the housing, which is done with a router bit, so it's going to have a round corner instead of a square one. So once I have the tops and the bottoms all rounded over on the edges, the next thing I'm going to do is fit these in. This is the facing piece, and I've marked them all with the front outside part in chalk, which will be erased, just so that I would be consistent. I was always using the face to mark on. And I need just a few light shavings off of this. Looks like it could use just a tiny bit more off the top. So you can see by tapping it in, it looks like a pretty good fit. Beautiful fit. Okay, then I'll be putting the right side into the right leg. Just do a tap this way. It looks like the top side is going to fit in perfectly, but I need to shave a hair off of the bottom side because it's crushing in on these fibers a bit here. It's going in, but it'd be better if I took just a little bit more off so I'm not crushing the edge of this mortise. So just a little bit more. And there's the nice sound of going home. Really nice fit in there. And here we have all of our chair legs all stacked up, lined up, and roughly put together after doing all of those fits. The next part is ensuring that the back piece of the railing is going to fit in. I still haven't fit those to the mortises, and we'll use the same procedure to ensure that those go in correctly. One of my least favorite things when it comes to woodworking is probably the sanding process, making it go from a rough routed out piece like this that has a couple of rougher edges to it, little pieces that need to come up, some seams that need to be sanded down. So we're going to be starting out with an 80 grit sandpaper.